While Matthew and Luke begin Jesus' story with earthly genealogies and a manger in Bethlehem, the Gospel of John skips human history entirely. It places its starting point completely outside of space and time. This papyrus fragment preserves the opening line, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." That word is the Greek term logos. This establishes high Christology, introducing a pre-existent creator sharing God's identity before the universe existed. The text immediately builds a stark dualism. It describes this logos as an unquenchable light breaking into a darkness that is completely incapable of overcoming it. By starting in the eternal void, the Gospel presents Jesus as the architect of reality itself, a presence that precedes the human timeline. This orientation raises the stakes for the physical life that follows. First-century writers faced a massive communication barrier. They had to explain a monotheistic cosmic deity to two completely different ancient audiences, the Greeks and the Jews. In Greek philosophy, the logos was a familiar concept. It meant the universal reason or logic that gives the chaotic cosmos its orderly, rational structure. In the Jewish tradition, the Word of God, or memra in Aramaic, was an active, creative power. It is the spoken command from Genesis 1 that calls reality into existence. Biblical scholar C.H. Dodd argued that John deliberately appropriated this term to bridge these two worlds. He used a Greek philosophical concept to communicate a deeply Jewish theological truth. Using the logos was a highly effective tactical choice. It allowed the author to make the Gospel's opening claims intelligible to the entire Mediterranean world simultaneously. Then, at verse 14, the text delivers a severe shock, "And the Word became flesh." The abstract logos transforms into sarx, vulnerable, biological human tissue. To Greek philosophers and early Gnostics, this claim was deeply offensive. They viewed the physical body as a corrupt prison for the spirit, making the idea of a perfect deity taking on sweat, blood, and physical limits completely scandalous. John compounds this by stating the Word dwelt among us. The specific Greek verb used here is eskinosin, literally meaning pitched his tent or tabernacled. This directly invokes the ancient Jewish memory of God's physical presence dwelling with Israel in the wilderness. Scholar Morna Hooker argues that the prologue provides the necessary theological framework for the entire narrative. It establishes the divinity that will be revealed through human weakness, pointing directly toward the physical suffering of the cross. For John, taking on a human body does not compromise Christ's divinity. Instead, the physical flesh becomes the exact mechanism through which that divine glory is revealed. This physical arrival triggers what scholars refer to as replacement theology. The text claims that while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ, signaling a massive shift in how humanity interacts with the divine. Under the old framework, religious life centered around the established laws and traditions recorded in the Torah. The Logos introduces a new, living alternative. Because of this, the criteria for belonging to God's people changes. It is no longer based on biological lineage, ethnic birthright, or the will of a human father, but entirely on a spiritual rebirth. The Incarnation effectively dismantled the strict ethnic and religious boundaries of the first century, creating a universal access point for anyone to enter the community. Understanding how this sophisticated theology developed requires looking at the origins of the text itself. Scholar Raymond E. Brown theorized the prologue was an early Christian hymn later adapted into this theological overture. The community deployed it to combat doceticism, a rising heresy claiming Jesus only seemed to have a physical body but never actually suffered. From its high Christology and stark light and dark dualism to its synthesis of Greek and Jewish thought, the prologue carefully constructs a theological defense of a highly controversial idea. The text creates a point of intersection between the eternal and the human, translating an abstract philosophical concept into a documented historical life.